It's crazy the power of a piece of clothing. It can be used to hide behind, or on the contrary, to attract attention. It can express my mood, tell the world who I am. A piece of clothing can be a flag, a manifesto, a shield. All those things together in a simple piece of fabric. You might have noticed this little splash of color in the gloom, a ray of sunlight on our clothing. A simple piece of material appearing all around, on screens, in boutiques, in wardrobes. A single syllable: wax. In my case, I've known wax since I was a kid. My grandmother always wore it in her village of Alejo in northwestern Benin. Wax is also about all the times when I went on journeys as a child and my mother would give me a little piece of cloth soaked in her perfume. So each time I see it in a department store or a Beyoncé video clip, it's a little reminder of my cultural mix. And yet, not so long ago, this simple rectangle of cloths was only worn by our African mothers. We were far from the pages of fashion magazines, but today, wax has become the pop emblem of a new Afropolitan creative and enterprising generation. This new popularity has made me want to meet those responsible for developing this movement. Like myself, these stylists have grown up at the crossroads of African and Western influences. Like myself, wax is part of their heritage. 1 foot here, 1 foot there. That means millions of things to share. The journey begins with this discreet young man. His name is Youssouf Fofana, and he founded the Maison Château Rouge clothing brand in 2015. Since then, his creations have been a widespread success. Dozens of articles, editorials, and prestigious collaborations. He's in constant demand. A phenomenon of the little world of Paris fashion, in wax print colors, obviously.
Welcome
Thanks.
to the boutique.
Wow, it's beautiful.
We try to put all the new things here. This is a dress which I call Laura because they say it brings to mind Laura Ingalls in Little House on the Prairie. I find that quite amusing.
So, Youssouf, your first creations were wax t-shirts inspired by American football kit.
That's right.
Where did that idea come from?
Various influences inspired me to make those. Firstly, there was an ethnic fashion revival appearing everywhere. In Eastern European countries, Romania, but also South America. A lot of young people were reappropriating their culture and sharing it with the world in different ways. That made me want to do the same thing with my African heritage, by mixing my culture with one of my other influences, which is sportswear. You were seeing more and more sportswear-inspired clothing in fashion shows. These two influences come from my suburban background. I was used to seeing them in everyday life. Sports clothing worn by youngsters, and wax worn by my mother and my aunts. Here we have most of the collection. This was something we did with a lot of white, and just details in wax. I can't say it's my favorite. When we make garments where wax is at the forefront, it works better. That's what people want, our clients in any case.
Full wax.
Yes, full wax.
But you don't have a fashion background, so what led you here?
You're right, I was a long way from fashion. But to make culture accessible, or even to discover it, is a question of traveling, of gastronomy, of art, and also of fashion. That's why I was constantly on the lookout, and when I launched this project, I wanted to create a brand in which I could recognize myself as a consumer. We're slightly redesigning the logo. We wanted to include jewelry in it.
I love it. Who did these? Not you, I suppose.
No, a friend. He's a Cambodian artist. Imani gave me that. She often wears Château Rouge tops. Last year, she even wore a Maison Château Rouge skirt for the César Awards. She's crazy about us and a massive support.
How do you explain your success? Because everyone knows Maison Château Rouge.
I'm not sure about the everyone, but when you talk about it, it's always funny to see just how many people know the brand. I'm always surprised. How to explain that success? It's delicate, it's complicated. But I think we've managed to create a strong image around the brand. The name Château Rouge has helped and reflects us well. It's Parisian, but strongly rooted in African culture, which gives the marriage of two fashions which we were looking for. Wax-inspired fashion is being talked about in most Western capitals, wherever there is a spread of youngsters with African origins. Paris is one of the centers of this new fashion scene with dozens of brands like June Shop, Ladyhood, De La Sabure, Bazar Pagne, amongst others. We're at the point where the highly reputed French Institute of Fashion offers conferences on the subject. Since I've always dreamt of becoming a stylist, it's a great opportunity for me to return to the classroom. The conference is led by Shade Affogbolo, founder of the media Nothing But the Wax.
I don't think it's an abuse of language to talk about an African avant-garde, because these are creators who are not looking to mimic the West. They are young people genuinely inspired by their culture, and even looking to transcend it.
When Shade started up in 2010, her blog was the first in France to take an interest in African fashion, or rather African fashions, as she likes to point out. Hyperactive on social network, a major connoisseur on the subtleties of fabric and trends, she has become the spokesperson for a whole generation of young creators. So Shade, we're right at the heart of the Magasins Généraux.
That's right. I'm here with my team because we relied on Media Lab during the development of the media Nothing But the Wax.
Before coming here, I was lucky enough to meet with Youssouf from Maison Château Rouge, who has an amazing career path. It's a very young brand which grew quickly, like many others which exist in Paris today. Just how widespread is this phenomenon? Given your expertise, I imagine you have an overview of that?
I would say that African culture, and Africa more generally, is in the process of entering global pop culture, meaning that it's entering everybody's daily life. It's a multiple phenomenon. There's both a creative aspect, for example, when a brand like Maison Château Rouge succeeds in redefining a certain idea of Parisian hype through what it does. There's also the economic phenomenon. That is to say, the entire ecosystem set up around the development of Fashion Week, with the growth of platforms and e-commerce like Africrea, Moonlook, and Kiswa, to name but three. It's really thanks to internet that African creation has emerged.
Yes. For example, your blog was created in 2010. Instagram also began in 2010. Coincidence? And Instagram is widely used by brands today. I imagine it's allowed them to show their creations to a larger public.
Absolutely. The strength of social networks has allowed African creation to become less pigeonholed, by which I mean, while the fashion industry itself rendered African creation invisible, the creators, with the help of Instagram and Facebook, have managed to make themselves known.
Youth as a whole is connected, in fact. The creators, the consumers. We're connected. You're connected.
We're all connected. If you look at the creators behind this new wave, they're all part of this generation. They're all millennials, and therefore hyper-connected. It's a generation without complexes, which is proud of its origins and wants to show them. Let's be clear, for a long time, Africa was given a very negative image, and African fashion was pigeonholed as something folkloric. Particularly concerning wax, it wasn't trendy in 2010. On the contrary, it was looked down upon. If you wore a wax turban in the street, people looked at you and said, "What is that? Why the rustic look?" etc. Awareness has in a way been growing. Mentalities have evolved to the point where the young say, in fact, we don't care. That's part of our culture, and we're proud of it. And we're claiming it back as part of our own style, our way of seeing the world, and our way of evolving in the world, be it in France, London, or New York.
For many designers, the choice of working with wax goes hand in hand with wanting to base their activity in Africa. Benin is part of this movement, and as it's my mother's country and my second home, I've come here to meet a few figures of wax fashion made in Cotonou. Here, wax is everywhere. Everybody wears it. It has to be said that this part of Western Africa, including Ghana and Togo, was the main door through which wax arrived on the continent. Because contrary to common belief, wax isn't African. It's a fabric with a surprising past. It all started a long way from here in Indonesia, with batik traditional cloth printed using wax. Dutch colonizers took this technique and invented wax. Several European countries started producing this material in large quantities for the African clientele. Today, Holland is still the reference for the best wax. But over recent years, China has been grabbing a share of this lucrative market. It's competition which the traders of the Dentokpa market are suspicious of. Here on the first floor, they only sell real Dutch wax. Maman commande. How are you? How long have you been here?
I've been sitting here since December 84.
84? In the same place?
Yes, the same place. I haven't budged.
But you don't still sell the same material. It must have changed.
No, I still deal in Dutch.
Only Vlisco.
Yes, Dutch Vlisco.
If you see material in the street and they say it's Dutch, if you touch it, are you able to tell the difference?
Yes. If it's not Dutch, we can tell.
That's Maman Commande. She's the best. Thanks, Maman. See you later.
See you later.
I'm going to take a look around.
There,
How do you show off a pagne?
in a pagne. Take the bottom of it.
Okay.
That's it. Is she your mother?
Yes.
Your Beninese mother?
Yes.
Then you must be Miss France.
That's right.
That's right.
Yes.
Really?
Wax is so popular in Cotonou that there's not one, but two enormous cloth markets, the biggest in West Africa. To buy wax in large quantities, it's off to the Misabo market. This is where Shade Affogbolo picks her materials. For her, fashion is a family affair. Her mother was a reputed creator in Senegal in the 1990s. Together, they created Nash Prints in 2013, which has become one of the most visible brands in France over recent years. So you're Beninese, Senegalese, Danish? Do you speak?
None of the languages. It's pathetic.
No! Welcome to the club. Shade makes all her articles in Cotonou. So she's often going backwards and forwards between here and Paris, where she's lived since she was small. She's one of this new Afropolitan generation who gravitate between Africa and Europe, wax being the symbol of their mix. So, when it comes down to it, you've never asked yourself questions like, does wax suit white-skinned women, or is it better on someone black?
No, not at all. I think I'm lucky in the fact that it's totally natural for me. I've seen whites in my family wearing it, blacks wearing it. I've seen it both ways. And I try to convince people because we're starting to see wax more frequently. So I try to sell it to those who don't automatically take to it. Those who say, I love it, it's beautiful, but not on me. That's great because, for example, I sold a sort of dark blue overcoat with huge red motifs on it to a Russian redhead who went back to Russia with it. And I was going, yes. She was white, white, white. So there was a huge contrast. It was just so beautiful.
Each time I come to Benin, I have new wax outfits made. It's so simple. On each street corner, you don't have Zara or H&M. You have local tailors. They make everyday clothes individually, as they do for a big event. I provide the cloth, I choose a model I like, and that's all there is to it. Everybody does that here. It's the African way of life. It was into the expert hands of one of these tailors that Shade and her mother placed their sketches and their ideas when they launched Nash Prince. Hello.
Hello.
I'm Flora. He's called Parfait, like perfect.
How's it going?
Very good.
Beautiful, no?
Parfait, it's perfect.
Quick, efficient. He lives up to his name. Parfait is living proof that there's a real know-how in Africa just waiting to be developed and brought to the forefront. Today, he's working on new models designed by Shade for future collections. Tomorrow, items conceived in this unpretentious little workshop will be worn all around the world. You'll even soon find photos of them in French fashion magazines.
Add a bit to the sleeves.
Yes. Yes, at least half a centimeter.
That would be good.
To tell you the truth, meeting Shade was a dream which has started coming true. Because I'd always dreamed of working, of functioning like a real company.
You could say that his dream and mine are the same.
It's a common dream.
That's what's great about it. I wanted to sell wax on a big scale and around the world. He wanted to work like a company. Now we have a good product. We have a good work rhythm. We know each other. We have confidence in each other. And we can start to think bigger. Now we've started, there's no stopping us.
It's been 5 years.
Yes, this is the 5th year.
The 5th year, yes.
It's a good marriage, no? How do you see the future of wax?
I hope it will find a place amongst the usual fashion motifs, the classics. Simply coming back regularly as a trend would be fine, but I would prefer it to make a true impact. Of course, it's always been there in its own little nook. I mean, my mother was there in the 1980s, and there were people before her. There was Chris Sidhu, amongst others. I have magazine cuttings dating from 2003, 4, 5, where there's a page about boubou fashion. Wax wasn't well known at the time. Boubou isn't made in wax. But all the same, it marked out a little place.
There are also large brands which use wax.
Of course.
Does that bother you, or is it a good thing?
The fact that they do it is a proof of its credibility. It means that it's an established trend. But will people buy that, not too expensive, with a lot of diversity, or will they pay a little more to support African craft work? I don't know. I hope they'll make the right choice. I feel that my generation is taking back the image of African culture, making it our own. And we will have children. So this generation will grow. This population will grow. I'm delighted that today we say Africa is this and Africa is that. It's pink braids and wax trousers and a Uniqlo t-shirt. That's it. A Japanese brand with shoes made by a Nigerian, which I found in Switzerland. For me, this mixture is a good thing, and it doesn't stop you having a precise image of your culture. I'm African, but I'm Beninese, I'm Senegalese. I'm a bit of all of that.
So what can I wish you?
To bring my project to fruition and to succeed in the business element. And to make Nash something with a real future. I'd like the people who work here to feel better than they did before. It's true for Parfait, but I'd like more people to benefit.
The wax trade has always been a women's story, so how could I not mention the Nana Bens? These women are true legends. They made their fortune in the material trade in the 1950s in Togo, but also in Benin and neighboring countries. They bought wax wholesale and then sold it retail. You should have seen them in the back of their huge cars. Their extraordinary achievements turned these traders into a model of success and independence for generations of African women. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Maureen Ayite created the brand Nanawax in homage to these women. As director of several boutiques in 5 different countries, she has become in her turn a reference on the continent and sells thousands of articles each month. Unlike Shade, who has principally European clientele, Maureen focuses mainly on young women here in Africa. And you communicate a lot on Snapchat, right? Because I always see you with your phone.
Yes, I love Snapchat. Because you reach people in a second. I put on an outfit, I snap, whether it's Nanawax or not. Everyone wants to know where I bought it, so they can get hold of it.
That's cool.
They want the same. Yes, today with Snapchat, I don't even need to run newspaper ads, and I've never put anything on television. Just snap, and I can sell. So now we're on Snapchat.
Hi, you 25,000 subscribers.
Hello, everyone. I'm just going through the new swimsuit collection.
Where are they made?
We can't make them here in Cotonou because we don't have the material, so the swimsuits are made in Morocco.
Okay.
I have a lot of articles which are not made in Benin. These are. Others are made in Morocco, Abidjan, Lomé.
How do you choose the place of production?
It's a question of doing a bit of research. At the beginning, I used to customize the swimsuits. I bought them wholesale and I added bits of pagne over the top because I didn't know where to get them printed. I started looking around and I came up with some factories which make swimsuits and I asked them if they could print some for me. So that's where I have them done.
That's great.
I keep looking around. Perhaps one day I'll have my own large factory where I can do it all, but not just yet.
I see some have little messages.
Yes, I had a lot of clients who would say, I love swimsuits, but I don't wear them because I have stretch marks or I have scars.
Women and their complexes.
That's right. I did shootings myself at the beginning, and since I had stretch marks too, I told the photographer to Photoshop them out. But then I said to myself, with internet today, a lot of people accept them. I think even Beyoncé has stretch marks, so they shouldn't stop you wearing a swimsuit.
Nicely played.
Thanks.
Wax has become an emblem for young African creation. But it's not the only material attracting successful new designers. They dig into the continent's culture to come up with a wide variety of motifs while taking quite a bit of liberty with tradition. For example, Maureen is inspired by bogolan, an ancestral fabric originating in Mali. It's the wax trend, but without the wax. So Maureen, here we are in Dentalpa, right in the middle of the market. This is quite a symbolic place for Cotonou, for Benin, and for you too.
Yes, because this is where it all really began. When I set up Nanawax, I bought the first fabrics on the first floor of this very building.
You use wax, but also other prints, for example, what I'm wearing, which is sublime. I think it's of bogolan inspiration on silk. Is it important for you to diversify, to get away from the original Nanawax?
Yes, because at the time when we came up with the name Nanawax, I was just concentrating on wax. But as I got into fashion, because it's not something I studied, it's not where I come from, I realized there are a lot of other fabrics. There's kente, there's kita, there's bogolan. There are fabrics from Burkina whose names I don't know. There are so many fabrics. And for the last 3 years, I've been fascinated by bogolan. Initially, I used woven bogolan, but that gives outfits which are hot and rigid. It's a bit difficult to work with, so I used it only for bags. So when the chance came up to have fabric printed with any motif I wanted, and Bogolan was a possibility, I knew I had to seize the opportunity, whether it be for swimsuits, to make outfits in silk, muslin, or whatever. I love this fabric, so I use it. Today, anyone can wear it. Because at one point, there was a bit of controversy with people saying, no, Bogolan is woven, it must be original. I would reply that Bogolan has existed for over 100 years and has never been developed. Today we can print lots of materials. Loads of personalities, loads of people around the world know Bogolan because it's been really vulgarized. So do you prefer having something woven which nobody can really use in fashion? Or to have a print known throughout the world? Personally, I'm for development, for change, for discovery. I really love Bogolan. I've created a whole ready-to-wear Bogolan series.
Bags for glasses?
In the bag over there. You wore the bridal dress, didn't you? Where's Fafa? Is it you? No? It's you I'm looking for.
Yes. Thanks.
African fashion is much more than just wax. This was made clear to me during the 15th edition of Dakar Fashion Week. Innovation knows no boundaries here and draws upon all sorts of influences in a whirlwind of styles and fabrics. Wax is just one of many materials used. Baule fabric, kita, fasodanfani, bogolan, a wealth of traditional African materials which have been reinvented and magnified by the 30 or so creators present. Amongst them are two artists from the Ivory Coast who I particularly appreciate. Loza Maliambo and Eli Kwam have received global recognition over recent years. But the great architect of this unmissable African meetup is Adama Ndiaye. Businesswoman as much as stylist, she quickly understood that in order to exist, African creators could only count on themselves.
All right, girls, we start in 3 minutes.
Don't I have the same shoes?
Yes, glasses?
Yes, here.
I need a pin. 1 pin. Put your glasses on.
The wax phenomenon will appear today before a wider audience, but African fashion has been bubbling up for a long time. Adama is one of these avant-garde designers who sowed the seeds of the creative wave we're seeing today. Before her, several African stylists made their mark in the 1990s. Alfadi, Pateo, and Lamine Badiane with the Xuli Bet brand inspired fashion around the world. Since then, they've been joined by a myriad of highly talented men and women who are aiming high. In haute couture, as with ready-to-wear, these creators want to promote a new image of Africa, sophisticated, proud, and uncompromising. Adama, what a pleasure to see you at last. To have you a little bit to myself. So, how have you seen fashion evolve over the last 15 years? Your fashion as well as others. What has changed?
Everything. Practically everything has changed in 15 years. Even our own perception of fashion as Africans has changed. I think African creators are much more businesslike. We were less so before. We were always very instinctive, always into creation, into art, and now we're into business, which I find a very good thing. We're thinking career, we're thinking marketing, we're thinking all that. 15 years ago, nobody thought like that.
In Europe, we're seeing the wax trend emerge. Do you use this fabric? How do you view this trend from the outside? Because you now live in Senegal, right?
I have mixed feelings. What displeases me most is that it isn't African, but that it's considered, that everyone regards it as an African fabric. So as an activist, as someone living in Africa, and considering that Africans don't earn much money from the sale of this fabric, well, I like it, but I try not to use it too much in my collections. I try to promote African fabrics. Woven fabric, Baoulé fabric, Burkinabe fabric, Malian cotton. That's what I try to do. My conscience finally said to me, couldn't you do something to bring pagne as much into fashion as wax? But I'm not completely against it, because anything which can give Africa good publicity, I'm in favor of. And I'm not surprised that Africa is in fashion. It was bound to happen, because people are getting fed up elsewhere.
They come to see us.
Yes, they come to see us. They come to see this cool way of life. Who can say, I finish work at 5 p.m. so that I can go grab a wave? Then go and sip a bissap juice as an appetizer while watching a magnificent sunset. Let's face it, not many people live like that, and cheaply too. So yes, I'm a Dakar ambassador.
Yes.
All right, I'm not driving too badly?
A bit.
Really, you ain't said nothing yet. I'm gonna stand on the gas. Left here. Okay. I'm taking you to Art and Cotton, which is Tata Fatou's weaving workshop, where they produce the Fassa d'Anfani, which I use in my work.
I thought I'd come and say hello.
Delighted. Flora.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Hello, Tata.
Welcome.
Thank you, Tata.
Make yourselves at home. So, here are the machines.
Thread by thread. Look, thread by thread, you see? When I say that, no one understands.
Idli Kwam has chosen to use African material rather than wax in his collections. He regularly comes here a few kilometers from Ouagadougou to collect his supply of the traditional Burkinabe fabric, Faso d'Anfani. Can you make any colors or just particular ones?
Yes, we can make any color.
This fabric is a wealth which needs to be exploited. Tata Fatou and the women of the cooperative work on adapting it for today's usage, and the work of artists like Illy helps its visibility and opens new horizons for it, thread by thread.
Wow.
Have you been working together for long?
Ellie. A long time
4 or 5 years.
that we've worked together,
4 or 5 years.
that we've been together. Not that we've worked together, that we've been together.
So now you're family.
I was the last to arrive and the one who wants everything first.
For all his new creations.
So he's a bit capricious.
With creations and new things all the time.
Ah, this is what I was talking about.
Wow, it's beautiful.
La fille beme. Hello. Are you well?
Yes.
Ah, thank God.
La fille bime.
Luffy Bime.
La fille beme.
Does Ellie sometimes create his own fabrics as well?
Of course. That's what's fascinating with Ellie. He's always creating. He starts with a base that he's seen one of the women do, and he says, all right, I'd like this one, but like that. And he brings other materials as well, not just cotton, lots of other things. He's constantly creating.
I see.
What's great with art and cotton is that there's a supply base which is so rich. And the ladies themselves create. They're not just workers doing a job. They have this aesthetic desire.
It's really a group of women, with each one adding their...
Their personal touch.
That's right,
Tata, can I try?
of course.
I found my new job.
I get the impression that these women mean an awful lot to you. Whether they're weavers or Tata Fatou herself who promotes this fabric, you even named one of your collections
Hyperfemme.
Hyperfemme, meaning hyper women, in their honor.
I keep on saying it, thread by thread. And thread by thread, you manage to get 40 meters of Faso d'Anfani at such and such a thickness. Thread by thread. It's really to show off the work of these women, of these hyper women. Thread by thread. Because it begins with one thread which they thread, which is then washed, which is then dyed, which is thread again. Then it's put on the bobbin, then taken to the loom, and then thread by thread, it's woven to the rhythm of the loom. I find that wonderfully poetic to have this opportunity. To be confronted with people like this, who do something so intricate, and who do it so beautifully and naturally. It's very powerful. I'd like people to understand that it's not just about pagne. It's each of these ladies putting their heart into it, regardless of their age or standing. I have the impression that people no longer pay attention to these little details, which end up being more than just details in this transformation.
While the women of art and cotton battle to find a place on Planet Textile, the Maison Château Rouge success story continues. Youssouf has just created a collection for the Monoprix chain of department stores. Hold on tight. These articles will be on sale in more than 100 stores across France.
It still hasn't sunk in. With everything that's going on, I find it difficult to stand back and say, yes, this is really happening.
How about your parents? I'm always curious about parents' reactions.
My parents? I don't think they quite realize what's going on. They come from a totally different background. No, they're pretty cool, and I think that they're proud. They don't say much because they're very reserved, but I think they're proud. Proud, but nonetheless waiting for me to get married, because that's one of their major priorities.
What you're doing is fine, but when's the marriage?
That's it, marriage first and foremost. It'll come.
In the wake of wax, there's a whole African aesthetic being clamored after, be it in music, cinema, design, or decoration. The giant Swedish furniture store IKEA has even entered into collaboration with a dozen African artists for their new furniture collection.
We would never have pulled it off on our own. They really made an effort because, let's face it, they could have produced wax on their own. They could have just surfed on the trend, but they wanted to do it with a creator, with Maison Château Rouge. They wanted to do the thing right and go the whole way.
Admit it, you did a little dance of joy.
A little one, yes. You can't help it.
Many ready-to-wear and haute couture stores have been happy to latch onto the trend around Africa without teaming up with creators from the continent. This cultural appropriation is regularly denounced, and brands are progressively realizing that they must affiliate with the principal exponents. This demand for authenticity also affects the world of wax and its historic leader, Vlisco. Vlisco has been producing its famous Dutch wax since 1846. The longevity of the company and the quality of its fabric made the brand a reference for wax lovers. Imagine the number of motifs which have been designed here by different generations of designers over more than 170 years. Certain fabrics have become famous after being given a name by their African clients: the diamond, Anansi, the king's chair, Miriam Makeba, each a mythical model which has traveled across continents and time. The secret behind wax production is hidden amongst these machines, which run 24 hours a day. The cotton is first covered with a coat of wax, onto which are engraved the base motifs. The fabric is then crumpled, twisted, contorted, which cracks the wax to give a unique style. But this is only the beginning. There are 20 more stages to go through before the fabric is sent by ship to Africa and arrives in Cotonou on the shelves of Mama Commande and her colleagues in the Dentokpa market. In the archive department, there are hundreds and hundreds of fabrics as far as the eye can see. Some are more than a century old. There are models which have marked the lives of thousands of people across Africa. It's a slightly strange feeling to be here in Holland, surrounded by all these motifs which make up part of African identity. There is something slightly crazy about it, which new Afro-descendant generations accept less and less. Faced with criticism over legitimacy, and also because of competition from Chinese-made fabrics, Vlisco has been obliged to draw closer to Africa by emphasizing the old links between the company and the continent, and in the same way as Monoprix and IKEA, by multiplying its collaborations with young African creators. In this period of upheaval, Vlisco resembles Europe in a way. Formerly dominant, enjoying a certain monopoly, today it faces competition and is put into question. To keep its place, it must reinvent, and to do that, it must take a fresh look at its history and its relationship with Africa and Africans. The success of Holland and China in the textile industry has given ideas to certain people on the African continent. Countries like Ethiopia and Kenya have made this the principal line of their economic development. Nigeria and South Africa have created whole ecosystems around fashion and design thanks to a wealthy middle class hungry for local produce. With these examples in mind, Loza Maliambo and Eliquam have launched into a new project. Their objective? The creation of a ready-to-wear brand made in Abidjan with authentic African fabrics.
That means we're no longer going to order by panier or by range or by the meter. We're going to order thousands of woven meters, thousands of colored meters, tens of thousands of meters, and then you're talking about real industrialization.
That's our contribution as artists and stylists. But governments would also need to accompany this kind of initiative. Imagine, for example, that there was legislation defining woven pagne as the material for school uniforms. A simple decision like that could have wide implications and a big impact on a country's economy.
I'm convinced that this sort of initiative is necessary so that we can succeed now. This is the time to say Africa is now. Not tomorrow or in 30 years, it's now.
Like many young Africans, Loza and Eli firstly went abroad to learn their profession. Loza to the United States and Eli to France. But like more and more Africans, they've decided to come home. That's another aspect of the Africa trend, a young, attractive, and vibrant continent which is drawing more and more talented people who are determined to stamp their mark on the 21st century. Is Africa more favorable to taking in young talents like you than it was? I imagine that when you arrived in 2012, the dynamic was not necessarily the same. Today, a lot of people are returning. Do you sense a difference that today you're finally ready for the real work, to exploit all the talent which is here?
Let me paint you my vision of Africa. I see it as an eagle, but a very, very big one. And as you know, huge birds, before taking flight, expand their chests, then open their wings. That's how I see Africa. So yes, we need to be part of this new reflection.
Revolution.
African revolution.
I start from the principle that if we don't do it, it won't get done. And I am prepared to assume that responsibility. It's a very ambitious and positive vision. And my way of thinking is reflected in a quotation I often use. Do what you can, with what you have, where you are. For me, that's the very definition of the African context. That means, what do you have? We have all our constraints, each of which is a gold nugget. Each is potential for development. So I only see the challenges in a positive way. And in any case, you can only have a positive vision of Africa's future.
All these ups and downs,
Challenges,
these
constraints,
this turpitude is like the spice in a good sauce. If there's no spice, it's not as good as it should be. So come as you are. At least we'll have some new traveling companions, new warriors to fight beside, new friends to laugh with. And if we have to cry, we'll fight not to shed too many tears.
Wax on the street, on our screens, in department stores, a Dutch fabric made in China, Buggelan motifs on silk, Faso d'Anfani in fashion shows. What do all these materials basically tell us? What is the power of a garment? What does it say about us? It's sometimes said that fashion is futile and superficial. We ask ourselves why people place such importance on their appearance. But when you share your house with 7.5 billion flatmates, it's perhaps a good idea to add your personal touch to the decor, don't you think so? Getting dressed is taking a bit of oneself and sharing it. It's both a declaration of independence and a hand stretched out to others. A simple piece of clothing can hold a mirror to the world, build a bridge between cultures and times. The success of wax and African fabrics is all of that. It's a new story being written here and there. A story of mixtures, an international and universal place for expression in which Africa is not just the mother country, but also a shared horizon, the lighthouse in a changing world.